Coming up on Sbu TV, we'll take a look at a tragedy close to home and another on the other side of the country. Hello and welcome to Sbu TV. I'm Lauren Adams.
And I'm Erin Lowry. The new year began on a tragic note in the St. Bonaventure community. On Sunday, January 16th, St. Bonaventure freshman Joseph Faircloth was returning to school with his family to begin the new semester. His father, Joseph Faircloth Sr., was driving on Route 219 north of Ellicottville when driver Matthew Dish in the northbound lane lost control of his car on the snow and ice. His car crossed into the southbound lane, striking the Faircloth car head-on. Joseph Faircloth Sr. was pronounced dead at the scene, and the 3 other occupants were sent to Bertrand Chaffee Hospital with minor injuries. Dish suffered a broken ankle. No charges have been filed. The funeral for Joseph Faircloth Sr. was held Thursday, January 20th. Some St. Bonaventure students woke up to an unpleasant surprise Tuesday morning. Early Tuesday morning, Safety and Security responded to a phone call about suspicious activity in the Shiloh parking lot.
A couple of individuals were knocking snow off vehicles and prying into vehicles.
So far, 11 vehicles have been reportedly broken into.
I was leaving at the Phase 1 parking lots at like 8 in the morning, and I saw that my driver's side door was still open, and I looked inside and there were like papers thrown everywhere from my glove box, and my GPS was gone.
There is hope of identifying the car thieves.
We have at least 4 witnesses, 3 of which have seen the suspects face to face.
There's one simple thing you can do to prevent your car from being broken into.
Everybody's going to lock their cars. You know, this is a college campus, and there are opportunists here. So the first thing that crooks are looking for are open vehicles. They want easy entry, quick entry, and that's the way to do it.
For Sbu TV, I'm Erin Lowry. Vehicle break-ins and suspicious activity should be reported to the Office of Safety and Security.
Police say the night before he shot 19 people, killing 6, Jared Loughner carefully prepared for his attack. CNN's Randi Kaye retraces Loughner's steps in the hours leading up to the tragedy in Tucson.
The night before the shooting, 11:35 p.m. Friday, investigators tracking Jared Loughner's last steps say he drops off a roll of 35mm film to be developed at Walgreens. Less than an hour later, 12:29 a.m. Saturday, Loughner checks into this Motel 6. He shows an ID and pays by credit card. Activity on his electronic room key shows he went in and out of the room several times during the night. 2:19 a.m., Loughner returns to Walgreens to pick up his developed photos. 2:34 a.m., Loughner makes a purchase at the Chevron station's convenience store. He buys a donut, a soft drink, and some energy bars. The security camera captures Loughner on video. Before he leaves, he uses the payphone. Less than 2 hours later, 4:12 a.m., Loughner posts a message on his MySpace page. It reads, "Goodbye, friends," and contains a photo developed earlier at Walgreens. 6:12 a.m., Loughner makes a purchase at Walmart. 9 minutes later, 6:21 a.m., he's at Circle K to buy something else. It's now just about 3 hours before the shooting, 7:04 a.m. Loughner makes his first attempt to buy ammunition at Walmart. The store clerk keeps him waiting because he's behaving strangely. So at 7:27 a.m., Loughner goes to another Walmart where he buys ammunition and a diaper bag, which is similar to a backpack. 7:34 a.m. Saturday, now just about 2.5 hours from the time of the shooting, Jared Loughner is stopped for running a red light just a few miles from the Safeway supermarket. An officer with the Arizona Game and Fish Department checks his license and registration. He sees there are no outstanding warrants and lets Loughner go with a warning. Around 8 a.m., back at Loughner's parents' house, his father confronts him about a black bag he's carrying. Investigators say Randy Loughner asks his son what's inside the bag and where he's taking it. They say Loughner mumbles something and takes off into the desert. His father chases him in his truck but doesn't catch him. More than an hour later, 9:18 a.m., Loughner calls a taxi to pick him up here at this Circle K convenience store. Authorities say the taxi arrives at 9:41 and takes him to the Safeway supermarket. It is now just minutes before the shooting. At 9:54 a.m., the taxi arrives at the Safeway. The driver and Jared Loughner go inside the supermarket to get change for the fare. 1 minute later, 10 a.m., Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords arrives for her Congress on the Corner event here. A few minutes later, Loughner asks a member of the Congresswoman's staff to speak with her. He's told to wait in a line of about 20 people. He does so, but then exits the line and walks quickly towards the Congresswoman. At 10:10 a.m., investigators say Jared Loughner opens fire. Randi Kaye, CNN, Tucson, Arizona.
After several instances of unusual behavior, officials at the community college he attended decided he was unfit to attend classes. Only 4 months later, Jared Loughner is accused of the mass shooting in Tucson. Sbu TV's Christy Andrzejewski found out how St. Bonaventure would handle student behavior like Loughner's here.
In September, accused Tucson shooter Jared Loughner was suspended from Pima Community College after he was judged mentally unhinged based on classroom outbursts and unusual offensive behavior.
Mentally unhinged, I think, sort of means that he's had a breakdown and he's possibly a dangerous person to either himself or someone else.
St. Bonaventure officials say the same action would be taken towards students here exhibiting that type of behavior.
We require them to get an evaluation. We talk to their family to see what goes on in terms of that, let them know that we're here to support. Then they would have to be involved in counseling when they came back.
Conor says there's 3 categories of behavior that are reported: concerning, alarming, and threatening.
What usually happens is it starts out being concerning. You know, somebody maybe does something a little bizarre, but then it escalates into alarming, and then it goes to threatening.
At one point or another, any St. Bonaventure student may have acted out in the same way Loughner did at Pima Community College. Conor says it's important to report this kind of behavior before it gets too serious, as it had in Loughner's case. A student concern form is used to report less serious, unusual behavior, but if a situation involves a direct threat,
then they need to call security directly, and then we need to intercede and see what's going on.
Conor says some unusual behavior may just be caused by social awkwardness. When
somebody has to either speak up in class or is in those smaller groups, there's pressure, and sometimes when there is pressure, there's bizarre behaviors.
Regardless of the exact cause of the behavior, counseling can be a valuable option for those with behavioral issues.
A lot of individuals know people, maybe not to the extreme that this individual in Colorado, but could benefit from counseling, mental health, aid, that type of stuff. And how do we get those people in to, facilities that can treat them?
For Sbu TV, I'm Christy Andrzejewski.
Students and faculty who want to report unusual or offensive behavior on campus are encouraged to contact the Counseling Center at 375-2128. Since the shooting, there has been no shortage of media coverage, but as I found out, this coverage may be reinforcing negativity.
We are getting amazing information now about the mindset and the motive of Jared Loughner.
In the week since the deadly shootings in Tucson, Arizona, a portrait of the suspect has emerged that paints Jared Loughner as a social loner.
And today there was a photo of the accused triggerman, Jared Loughner, who made his court appearance and at some point seems to have shaved his head, giving that strange smile.
It seems almost impossible to turn on the TV or look in a magazine and not see the mugshot of Jared Loughner.
Of course, it's a news story that you want to cover, you want to hit it, and then people have logical questions to the first round of stories that they see.
Loughner is accused of opening fire in front of a supermarket in Tucson, Arizona on January 8th, where U.S. Representative Gabrielle Gifford was speaking. The shooting spree injured Gifford and 12 others and killed 6 people. Since the incident, the media coverage has been nonstop.
People want to try to figure out what's going on, and lots of times you can't figure it out. There's not enough information that you can gather that is ever going to give you that exact thing, that exact point of why this individual did that thing.
According to Dr. Keener, assassins often look for attention, which lead them to commit crimes like this.
But it's the 15 minutes of fame stuff that people are looking for, and people are going to get that any way they can a lot of times.
Some say the constant media attention may be due to public demand. No matter how often we see these kinds of killings, the reasons behind them are impossible to find.
What we're trying to do is impose some sort of a rational framework, a rational context onto these events, and there is no rational context or framing for madness.
Dr. Keener says these people need to be remembered in a negative way.
As a pretty pathetic person, sort of a tragic figure who slipped through the cracks.
For Sbu TV, I'm Lauren Adams.
Could your zodiac sign have changed? And we'll see how technology is affecting textbooks for college students. It's all coming up next on Sbu TV.
Daddy, why is the sky blue?
Well, to match your pretty eyes.
Nope, not even close. See, all colors have wavelengths that are diffused by oxygen and nitrogen. Since blue is the shortest wavelength, it's diffused up to 10 times more.
Who taught you that?
Mommy?
By age 12, too many girls lose interest in math and science and their chance at future jobs. Keep her interest alive.
You know why mathematics is the basis of life as we know it?
You tell me.
It's her future. Do the math.
Heavy backpacks may become a thing of the past. More and more schools are allowing students to download textbooks online. Connor Mooney reports.
At the beginning of each semester, students flock to the bookstore to buy new textbooks for their new classes, a process that some students say can be expensive. More and more, however, buying and selling large quantities of textbooks has become a thing of the past.
My parents got it for me Santa got it for me for Christmas.
He's talking about his new iPad, a new machine that allows users to read books electronically, including textbooks for students.
It's pretty addicting, though. I'm surprised with how much I've used it.
According to a New York Times article, more and more colleges and universities are proposing the use of electronic reading devices, such as the iPad and the Amazon Kindle, for the new access to course material.
There are select courses in the bookstore that do have downloadable books. If you order through our website, you're also offered the chance to do a downloadable book.
Cost is also cheaper when downloading books.
So downloadable is a little bit cheaper than purchasing it.
Some say, however, they still prefer a real book to the new technology.
I mean, I'm not too good with electronic stuff, so regular books might work in my case.
One thing's for sure, backpacks will be a lot lighter in the near future. For Sbu TV, I'm Connor Mooney.
The Amazon Kindle has reduced the amount of backlight used, making it easier on the eyes. Doing away with textbooks isn't the only way students are protesting university fees. A University of Colorado at Boulder student says he wanted to express his frustration with the cost of tuition. And, as CNN's Hendrik Sittenbray reports, he delivered the message in the form of a 33-pound duffel bag brimming with bills.
You know, it kind of started all as kind of fun and just kind of started as, wow, that would be crazy.
And then Nick Ramos's idea began gathering momentum, and before he knew it, his duffel bag began filling up with dollar bills.
You know, and it gets heavier and heavier, and you're looking at all this money and just thinking, wow, this is for, you know, one semester of school.
As an out-of-state student from California, Ramos's tuition is $14,300 per semester. It took some effort to assemble that sum in cash. He told one bank,
I need upwards of $10,000, and they just stop and they, okay, I'll be right back.
Once all the money was collected, he dragged it to the bursar's office on campus.
And I lifted the duffel bag up, and they just all kind of gathered around and just couldn't even believe it. So it was quite a sight, and they said that no one had ever paid in ones before.
He told them, and he still feels it's nothing personal. He loves CU. He doesn't like the school's price tag.
But when you walk in with a 33-pound duffel bag of cash, you know, it puts a lot into perspective. It made me really appreciate that people are willing to give up that money for me to go to school.
Ramos doubts his payment plan will affect future tuition, but he says,
I just hope that it, you know, kind of stirs some conversations and, you know, people talk about it, people think about it. It's been a very, very interesting past couple days.
Has your zodiac sign changed? Do you think and act like a Leo? Well, whether you like it or not, you may be a Virgo the next time you read your horoscope. Leah Murphy has the story.
On January 13th, Facebook and Twitter got flooded with thousands of angry and panicked messages. People were and are still upset because of the recent news that their zodiac sign might have changed. Here are the signs and the dates before they supposedly changed. Find your sign. And now we will take a look at what all the buzz is about. Here are the supposedly new signs, and people are not very happy about it.
At first I freaked out because I actually have my Pisces tattooed on my back, so I quickly found out to see if mine changed, but it didn't, so I was happy about that, and it's just kind of unfortunate for anyone else who's changed.
I was aggravated. I went my whole life thinking that I was a Taurus, and now I don't know what I am. I'm pretty lost.
The first reports of this is from an astronomer named Parke, who was on the board of directors at the Minnesota Planetarium Society. He gives his reasons for why he thinks the signs have changed.
Somewhat surprised that the reaction has been so strong, that this went so viral. But in a sense, not really. This isn't something that the Earth just fell over and, things changed all of a sudden. This precession of the Earth that we've been talking about here, where the Earth's axis moves around, takes 26,000 years to go all the way around. So this has been slowly happening for centuries.
But is this all really true? Have our signs that we've known since birth really changed? I turned to Dr. David DiMattio, Dean of Clare College here at St. Bonaventure, to figure out the truth.
The real answer is no, because what happened was that people that believe in astrology, there were two schools of thought, an Eastern school of thought and a Western school of thought. We who follow the understandings of Ptolemy believe in a Western school of thought. What does that mean? Very simply, that on this celestial sphere, there are going to be two locked-in constellations. One of them is going to be Leo, and one of them is going to be Aquarius. And so in the model, we definitely know where those constellations are with respect to one another. And so therefore, as the sun travels along this ecliptic, you just fill in the blanks. Since most of us having a Western understanding of the zodiac signs, it is still 12 signs. It is still endpoint to endpoint.
So there you have it. Your sign hasn't really changed. If you're a Leo at heart, you're still a Leo. For Sbu TV, I'm Leah Murphy, and I'm still a Sagittarius.
Well, that's good news for me because I'm definitely a Leo at heart.
Imagine being a student with access to endless resources from a phone. Well, this has become a new reality with Apple's new iPhone 4, which is now available from Verizon Wireless.
The iPhone. Innovative, simple, and effective. Just 3 tools any college student could appreciate in a rapidly growing digital era. Recently, Verizon and Apple announced the end of AT&T's exclusive rights to the iPhone, allowing students to increase academic productivity through online resources and communications.
When we spoke with St. Bonaventure University students, many believe the switch would be beneficial regarding phone reception, family plans, applications, and internet speed.
As a student, having an iPhone would be pretty beneficial. I pretty much depend on my phone for everything besides like texting and making calls.
Now that the iPhone is coming to Verizon, I do believe that I am going to get one. They have a lot more apps. The phone is just a lot nicer in general.
But are students using these applications for professional use or just for social purposes?
They can instantly post a story to their own website and then tweet it and then put it in a Facebook status line, all from the scene of the accident, so to speak. That is valuable. But my question is this. 1, do the students know they can do that and work on that capability? And second, are the faculty active in teaching them how to use this as a tool as much as I use this as a tool?
Just like anybody else, it's the connectivity and the ability to access anything you want right there, right then. And there's apps that I use in science, like a converter. I need to convert grams to pounds, and you could do it right there.
Whether for social or academic use, smartphones have become a norm. For Sbu TV, I'm Andrew Serrato.
Will students take advantage of the iPhone's scholastic capabilities, or will smartphones continue to serve as a learning distraction? Coming up in sports, we'll take a look at how St. Bonaventure fared against A10 foe, Xavier.
After back-to-back road games, the St. Bonaventure men's basketball team returned home to take on the Xavier Musketeers. St. Bonaventure started off well, scoring the first 7 points of the game, capped off with a Michael Davenport layup. They would extend their lead to 17-7 when Ogo Adeboye hit a 3 from the wing. Xavier would respond as Mark Lyons hit back-to-back threes. However, the Bonnies led by 5 at halftime after Matthew Wright knocked down a 3. In the second half, it was all Xavier as Jeff Robinson throws down a dunk to give them a 5-point lead. That was followed by a putback dunk from Jamel McLean to give the Musketeers an 11-point lead. 2 Holloway would make a 3. He finished with a game-high 22 points, and Xavier won easily 79-65. The Bonnies are on the road again this weekend to take on George Washington and return home Wednesday to play UMass. That's all this week on Sbu TV. I'm Lauren Adams.
And I'm Erin Lowry. For the rest of us here in the Coop Lab, thanks for watching.